What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. In our bad buyout of the day, which happened a couple days ago, we have Dark Sanctuary. Now, you might be looking at me and saying, John, this seems like a pretty good buyout. The Bakura stuff just got announced, and it seems awesome. Konami's been on the ball in 2019, and with the legendary duelist sets in the past, you see really key reprints that were wanted by the community, like Toon Kingdom. Now, a lot of the Bakura support leans towards Destiny board. What does Dark Sanctuary lead towards? Oh, right, despite its pretty balanced and actually pretty cool effects, Destiny board. I think it's very, very likely. I'm a betting man. I would bet on Dark Sanctuary getting its reprint within the legendary duelist Bakura. And this was expensive and held price because it has one printing, and this may be speculation, but at the same time, I think it's definitive that this will get its reprint. It'll have two printings, and even with this being the higher rarity, we'll see it fall down to earth for a while. Even Secret Rare Toon Kingdom was super affordable at $15 for a while. I think you'll see Dark Sanctuary, which was at $8 lowest before its buyout, and just a couple of weeks ago, I would have told you because of one printing it's a good buy. Now you will see it start to go down once we get those legendary duelist cards in. And we see over here $20 as well. Highest rarity over time may be a good buy. This is collectible. You have that awesome moment in Battle City where it envelops over the blimp, an amazing moment, and so it does meet that anime and somewhat playability aspect, but having direct Destiny board wording in this card and the new support being Destiny board, it's gonna be in there. That is just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. What is yours? As a betting man, I'm betting it would be in there, though. Next up, we have Mythical Beast Master Cerberus, and we see $18, 6 available, $18, and then $19 for the Expo Originals. My opinion on this is, if you waited, you kind of lost out. The Spellcaster Structure decks are here in hand, and this was going to be one of the hardest pieces to get, with Jackal King getting its recent reprint in the Infinity Chasers. Jackal King is a really good card overall, and I would still be getting them at the $2 price points. If this deck somehow takes off, if the ban list, again speculation, somehow brought some pieces back for Pendulums as they once did to push Pendulum Evolution, well, hey, this might just suddenly take off as one of the cards to really want from Infinity Chasers. Now, it's only 2 now, you don't want to miss out, and if you are even considering having the structure decks, be sure you have your playset of this. You don't want to end up in this same situation. Oh, by the way, real quick shout out, almost forgot. We're going to be at the Pro Play Games Tour here tomorrow. Tune in, myself and Simo, on Twitch. You're going to be able to watch it live. And of course, if you're in the DFW, I better see you there. It's going to be awesome. Tons of amazing side events that you all wanted, including Necros format, GOAT format, speed duels, with amazing prize support for those side events as well. If you can't make the main event, be sure to just stop in and see what's up. So, still transitioning through our spellcaster and spell counter buyouts. Temperance of Prophecy got bought out and skyrocketed, as it were. I believe Kali Effect shouted this out. I personally don't like this card in the current game because there's not a lot of cards you want to pop out of deck rather than to continue comboing off, because it limits you. You cannot special summon another level 5 or higher monster during the turn you activate this effect. It's a huge pullback where you can't Chronograph, where you can't use Jackal King, Master Cerberus. Like, you are sacrificing all of that just to bring out one card if you've activated a spellbook card this turn. You also can't synchro into, say, Tempest Magician. There's a lot that you lose by activating Temperance of Prophecy's effects, and while perhaps you could link spam up or something, it just takes away from Pendulum summoning and what it's trying to do currently. So I just personally don't like the buyout, and you see it over here already back towards $11. I think you'll see it go down over time. Now, this is always a card that's had huge potential, but it needs something worth summoning. It needs something the light or dark spellcaster needs to really matter all that much to be there, and I don't think there's anything worth giving up the spam and setting up all your 5 negate 6 interruptions, best deck ever kind of thing. So I really think it's just counterintuitive to what you actually want to do with the spellcaster decks because of this restriction. That's my take on it. What's yours though? Are you maybe one of the people that were buying this, and what do you plan to be summoning with it to make it worth it? Now, talking about Chronograph Sorcerer, this is just something I didn't know. He's up towards $4, and it makes sense. After we lost Astrograph, this was bound to go up over time. It's just a card I didn't know was at that $4 mark, and we see on eBay there is one cheaper before it quickly raises to almost the $5 mark. Almost completely gone on eBay. 8 results total when you search, and one of the first ones is foreign. So with low quantities, only 16 over here on TCG Player. You might want to get this sooner than later, as in the competitive decks they tend to play Chronograph along with Darkworm. And also looking at Darkworm, I just didn't know that its holo rarity was up there towards $6 also. It's kind of one of those cards I actually have myself, and I didn't know. Pushing $7 over here, and quickly over here as well. So if you maybe had these out of Battles of Legend, you didn't know, you got something that's relatively low quantity on the market, that's an easy to get common, but a nice looking secret rare that is going for something. Now, Tempest Magician is something I just wanted to bring up. I personally think this should be banned. It's a burn card, and now spell counters are easier to get out than ever and just mass hit your opponent with them. Having that access from the extra deck is insane to me, but again, ban lists are always speculation. So right now, this is up pretty well towards the $5 mark for even the supers near mint. But I remember a lot of these used to have edgeware out of the pack, so getting near mint is kind of harder for this card than the average card from a special edition, so you do want to be aware that that's a thing also. In my opinion, overall, it's a good card to have access to, but I could also see it being banned. If you have any interest in the spellcaster, spell counter stuff, you want to have this card. Everything's just screaming at me to let it go, though, because I feel like it should be banned. But if it's not there on the list, you could possibly see this start to spike even from this point. Now, one card that's kind of getting overlooked in this situation by a lot of people as all this hype is building for these Pendulums. Oh, right, there's a Floodgate for Pendulums, and it's really, really freaking cheap. Anti-Spell Fragrance, you see lowest, $1.40. It's realistically towards $2. But the DT version is still available pretty cheap at $5 here, and 5 something near mint, I believe, over here. There's plenty of hollowed out versions of it now, and of course the highest rarity is PCY. My favorite's just always been that old school dual terminal though, so that's what I would personally be seeking. But let me know what your favorite version of Anti-Spell Fragrance is, and of course, it's a side option when you know you're going first. It's obviously not going to do anything to them when you're going second, but if we see Pendulums really come out swinging, you can bet that this Floodgate's going to see its way back into the format, along with Imperial Order. That's something I haven't said in a while. Imperial Order's problem, though, is it doesn't stop the Pendulum scales from placing and the scales from being what the scales are, so Order still, I think, would be somewhat strong, but it's going to have its struggles too against Pendulum decks. Overall, though, it's something you might just want to consider having one of always. Imperial Order is a very strong card, and I wouldn't be opposed to having access to that. Totally awesome. Didn't think I'd be bringing this up on Market Watch in a while, but it's been creeping up over time. It's not like this was an overnight thing. One thing to mention is it's a thing to send with Megazaborg, because when Megazaborg dumps this, it can actually get Nekroz pieces back. So if you're playing Nekroz with Megazaborg, this is something you actually want to have one of. But just over time, I feel like there's eventually going to be a deck that just pops this out somehow. Wow, actually the Enov version just is going up right now. I didn't notice. That's pretty cool. So overall, you see this Toad, and then it's 15. Yikes. It's just been something that's gone up consistently over time. No reprint has been offered for it, and if you're playing a consistent deck over time like Paleozoic that can still possibly top a regional, you need these guys. And odd enough, there's actually getting to be nostalgia for Toad and Toad Heroes and those kind of decks. And as Link Summoning's improved, hey, it's been a little easier to get out. Now, over on eBay, it looks a bit more accessible, but does shoot up to 15 somewhat fast. Cyber Dragon Buyouts. This is something I didn't expect to be talking about again already, as I tend to push Cyber Dragons. I tend to tell you guys, hey, this is stuff that a lot of people already have, so they're not going to be clamoring after it, but it's a fan favorite, and it could get people back into the game with Nashter. Cyber Emergency was at 35 when it got bought out, and still up here at 33.50. Just one of the hardest cards to get out of Battles of Legend and Relentless Revenge. One of the most sought after cards, and I think that it's deserving of its price, but also to keep in mind, Konami's been pretty good with these reprints lately. We have another Battles of Legend coming up, and while they seem to have stayed away from reprinting Battles of Legend stuff in Battles of Legend, I could see Konami sneaking this in somewhere into some set as a reprint. So do keep that in mind. It is cool to see that, hey, my cards have like actual value here. There's nothing like demanding a box value out of Battles of Legend, but it's now 3 times ahead of Gossip Shadow, which used to have this price point, didn't it? Weird how that tends to work out over time. And also, something I did want to note, also, Trickstar Reincarnation has been creeping up as well. So that deck never really got the hits that it did get in the OCG. It's something to consider if, you know, it's a rogue deck that's likely to continue flying under the radar right now. Something to just maybe have as a backup strategy, even though they've moved on from Trickstars in the show. And finally, just the final note of this market watch, Dark Neostorm is coming. The leaks are here. Have the cards for the decks you want ready. If you're thinking about Orcust, be sure you're prepared because the WCQ season is here. Orcust is a competitive deck. If there's something coming out in Dark Neostorm, consider what's missing from your deck now for the WCQ season, because you don't want to be caught in the rolling buyouts that happen leading up to the WCQ. The hype of, oh my gosh, this happened at YCS moments, and you held off for a couple weeks. Don't be that guy. Make sure you have the tools you want to have access to now. Thank you so much for watching today's Market Watch. What did you guys think about everything going on? Am I right or wrong about this being a bad buyout? Do you see the ultra rare holding value even if another printing is coming? I think it's what a lot of people don't consider when they just clamor for something when the Bakura stuff is released. But still, highest rarity could hold some value. I think it's still just up there because it had its one printing though. And do you think it will get a reprinting? Am I overstating that? I really don't think so. People hate when I make speculation like that, but I think that's part of what I should do. We look at Konami's history and we speculate on what will happen, and I think that's fine. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below though. Thanks for watching, everybody.